Hello, good evening, everyone. And hello, Sue. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Roger. Hi, everyone. Good to see you again, Rog. How are you doing?
Great to be back. Yeah, very well. Thank you. So we are live with Biomimicry Online Live Part 7. I can't believe we're 7 episodes in already. Fantastic, I know. And tonight we're going to be talking all about reconnecting with fellow life. So it is module 4 of the Biomimicry Online series by Sue Swain of Biowise. So we're going to get into the topics all around that particular topic tonight. Sue, so over the last month or so since we last chatted, any new interesting things on a biomimicry side of things happening down your way?
Mostly just my getting involved in offering forest immersion, but with a biomimicry twist to it, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, and there's definitely a growing interest in biomimicry, and there's a local group called Masiembo who's really also starting to push it. They're based in the Garden Route, so hopefully things are going to start taking off.
Oh, fantastic. So just a reminder to anyone watching, if you're watching it live or on replay, send in your questions in the comment box. We can get to those questions live if you do send them in time, or if you don't catch this live and you're watching on replay, still post the comments. We can always get back to you afterwards. This is all about getting the conversation started. It's all about building the community. So send in any thoughts, any experiences you've had, any questions you've got for Sue. And we can tackle it either in this live stream or the next one. So the topic for tonight is reconnecting with fellow life. So the previous one, we were talking about connecting with our life. And now we're doing reconnecting with fellow life. So let's have a little look. I've got a short clip from this particular module and the very first lesson in this module. And then after watching this clip, we can talk about it a bit. So let's check this out.
Okay,
Great.
So the good news is, at a fundamental level, there's absolutely no need to reconnect, as there's simply no disconnect. Physiologically, we remain intimately and inextricably connected. With every single breath we take, every breath we inhale and exhale, with every bit of water we drink and excrete, with every bit of food we eat and digest, through our instinctive responses to things such as danger, changes in temperature, we're also inseparably connected and related via the same chemical makeup. We have exactly the same chemical elements in our human bodies as every other living being on Earth. We're also connected by our cellular makeup and functioning. You'll remember that our human bodies actually have more microbial cells than we do human cells. And we're connected and related via our DNA. Obviously, we're also connected by sharing that same planetary home, so we are subject to the same planetary operating conditions. And for some, we are connected by things more intangible, emotional, psychological, spiritual, and intuitive connections that are no less real, if not more powerful. So no matter what we may tell ourselves, at this fundamental level, when we talk of reconnecting, we actually mean reawakening to our existing connectedness with life, remembering our connectedness and remembering our relatedness with life.
So that's a short clip from lesson number 1 of the 4th module, which is reconnecting with fellow life on Earth, and the introduction around that. So Sue, I don't know if you want to dive into this topic and sort of kick us off with some of the thinking around this and where this sort of all came from.
Sure. I think it really stems from that comment that's always made with regards to biomimicry really being a reawakening, a remembering. And sometimes you see it actually also being hyphenated, that remembering, because it's about actually becoming a member again of the community of life on Earth. And I think, that to me is what really important, is that we are connected. There is no disconnect, not on those levels that we just were seen in that clip. Physiologically, it's there. And at a deep cellular level, we're genetically encoded to actually remember how we should be living on life, living as life on Earth. And we also, I think we're experiencing a loneliness of spirit, because we are feeling the mental and emotional disconnect we've taken us, we've created for ourselves. But for me, the positive side of it is that we do belong, and it's just finding our way back to remembering and reawakening that sense of belonging.
So you say that there isn't really a disconnect, because we are all sort of connected and everything. But why does it feel like there's a disconnect? Why do you think that we're all feeling that little bit more anxious, or that feeling like there's a disconnect? Really, why do you think that is?
Certainly, emotionally, mentally, there's a disconnect. We really started our journey about 10,000 years ago, when we started to grow our own food. And we shifted from being hunter-gatherers who were intimately connected with the environment of which we were part, in tune with the seasons and all of that. We started now to grow our own food, so we didn't have to, move around. We could stay in one spot. That's when civilization started to emerge. But because now we were growing our own food, we started to actually come into competition with nature, because of these kind of like supermarket we were creating in these farms and that. And, it just seemed to continue from that. We then went through the scientific revolution, where we just stopped any reverence for Mother Earth. I mean, before the concept Mother Earth is not new. It was something that we lived by. And then with the scientific revolution, nature was just, reduced to this dead assembly of atoms almost. And that then was followed by the Industrial Revolution, where we started to have a real impact, because we now had machines that could dig deeper and further and faster into the earth. And that continued this disconnect. And then with the petrochemical, where we could start to synthesize things, all of this. So we've been on this journey of separating ourselves, of wanting to believe ourselves almost different and superior to and masters over. And meanwhile, we have blinded ourselves to the reality of our extreme interconnectedness with everything, and our interdependence on life on Earth, with life on Earth. So yeah, it's just been this unfortunate journey we've taken ourselves on, and it is a case of addressing that and starting to think differently.
It's interesting you say the food side of things. I mean, that's I never thought of it that way. Just simply by how we are now getting our food, and how different that is, that it's just one of those fundamentals that we need to survive. And that's one of those first disconnects, I guess we're having. And that's could be such a simple reason why we're just feeling like we're not in tune with everything around us. That's actually so put.
Yeah, and because, as hunter-gatherers, each and every single individual was involved often in doing the hunting or the gathering. And, now most children, I think, don't know where milk comes from. Most of us don't consider what goes into getting that food on our plate. So, simple starting point in learning to grow some of your own food is fantastic. I mean, I find myself, I'm a far better unintentional grower. It's when I toss my butternut pips onto the compost heap and they start growing themselves. I seem to have more success that way, which is fabulous. I love seeing it just life just finding its own way. And yeah, and
Super.
I lose most of it to the old porcupine, but that's okay.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into that now. So that's sort of like part one, and the reconnect with fellow life and introduction side of things. So let's just go one tad bit further, and let's have a look at this little clip.
We once lived in sync with the rest of life. We once lived in relationship with life. That concept of Mother Nature didn't just fall from the sky. It permeates throughout our being. I don't know, perhaps it's the frustration and impotence we feel not knowing anymore how to tap into or access that intuition because we've separated ourselves intellectually so much. And not knowing how to assuage and address that longing that has led us to seeking to create that which we can control, to creating a virtual world while we destroy the real world around us, compulsively seeking to find life out there while we extinguish the life right here.
Oh, really interesting, and so nicely put. So how do you think we know that we're back feeling in sync? How, have you had an experience where you've suddenly just felt like you're suddenly in sync again?
Certainly, I think, there's the in sync and in relationship with. So in sync is when you're starting to realize you're living as nature does. So I think, for me, it was, some of the things I've started is saying, well, I've got to, nature doesn't produce waste. So how do I try and start living my life in that kind of way? So I gave up the dustbin in December 2018. So it's coming up for 3 years since I've not had a dustbin. And it certainly gets you starting to think differently. I mean, I have a bottle brick, or an eco brick as it's called, and put everything that is non-usable goes into that. I mean, it's not the ideal, but it starts making you think about, why do I buy all this packaging? How do I avoid that? And then you start changing your shopping habits and start looking, going more to your local markets and requesting that there's no packaging, etc. It's basically in terms of one's relationship with water. Are you helping to plant the rain when it falls, as the rest of nature does? Do you also work carefully with water, respect water as the rest of life does, understand just how precious fresh water is, those kind of things? But also, in terms of relationship, I think it's when you then start to really acknowledge the lives of the other organisms around you and start to step into their shoes and understand how the impact and the interactions that they have with the environment, and how vastly different it is from what my interactions are. Things like that, yeah.
And how easy was it, that sort of transition to no sort of rubbish bin, and then sort of buying stuff with as little packaging as possible? I mean, was it easy around where you live to get all the stuff you need and that without having packaging and stuff like that?
No, it's still quite a challenge. But yeah, I'm most probably known as that crazy woman who takes her own Tupperware, and because I still will want to go and buy a takeaway or whatever, but then I take my own 2-liter ice cream bucky and hand that in. I'd know the cashiers look at me and think, hang on, what's happening here? But I think, what was making that conscious decision that I'm not going to have a rubbish bin was the most important step, and not going back on that. And finding ways. I am now, I might put myself out there as one of the best bottle brick makers around, because I actually cut everything. It is extraordinary how much you can get into a bottle brick, because I actually cut things up into about thumbnail size bits and pieces. And so it's not the ideal because what I do with the bottle brick, I'm going to ultimately build my own little veggie garden, little wall that I can then plant stuff inside that. But the worry is always what down the line it remains filled with plastics and foils and things like that. But hopefully there'll be some technology that emerges that is clean burning at least. But the whole thing is, again, then pushing and reducing and even pushing suppliers to say, but I don't want that packaging. Because, the frustration is sometimes you go to a local farmer who is also then putting his stuff into plastic, and he said no. So there's a lot of education and awareness raising, and I think we have become so reliant on plastic. We've been conned into it being indispensable kind of thing, and it's really about finding ways in which to I think separate ourselves from that dependency and say no more.
I still know an experience I've had when I try and go to the counters in sort of supermarkets rather than just get the pre-packaged stuff, and whoever's working the counter still ends up wanting to put it into loads of packaging, and I'm sort of trying to say no. And I remember I did that once in Cape Town, and the lady behind the counter sort of said, "Why? Can I ask you why you don't want this?" Then have to start explaining the reasons, and as you say, come across a little bit crazy at times. But I suppose it's the more times you do that, and the more times you make that kind of voice known, is the only way. Because how else, are we ever going to get anywhere?
Yeah, it is particularly frustrating when you go to places like Food Lovers Market or Fruit and Veg City or whatever they call themselves now, and they either they have the loose. Some of the stuff is loosely packaged, not packaged. It's only in nature's packaging, perfect packaging. And then you see these people taking, these bunches of bananas and then putting them in those thin plastic bags, and it's all. I have to control myself quite a bit at times, actually, to not.
I do know that I'm the only one whenever I go shopping that puts if I buy loose veg, that puts it into my own bag and then takes it up to pay for it. I've never ever seen anyone else do that, and it's crazy. You think by now, at some point, I think maybe 5-10 years ago, started seeing a shift, but I don't know if even that's kind of phasing away now, and who knows, maybe even because of things like COVID, people are even more conscious of not doing things like that. I don't know, you know what I mean? But
look,
another thing.
It does feel that there's been a step backwards, to be honest, and we're just pushing the convenience side of things the whole time. Why now suddenly butternuts have to be put into into one kind of packet that is the worst type because it's type of a webbing. So those things get tossed out, birds get caught in them, and everything. And you just want to say, I don't get it. Why can't you just say two? Buy two, and you get it at that price. But I think it's been trying to be tireless in making your voice heard, making people more aware. It's interesting to see. There's this whole. Not fracking. What do they want to do? Drilling. Shell is wanting to go into our seismic testing in our oceans off the wild coast, and but there's been a huge public outcry against that. So voices are being heard, and there are plenty. There really are some beautiful grassroots movements all around the world. So I think there is a shift in consciousness. That's for sure. And that's why I think, for me, in this course, pushing that re-establishing relationship is so important, because it's when you get back into sync and start seeing how things happen in the natural world, and start learning from that to say, but we can do things differently. We can start simplifying. You know, these tiny homes are starting to take off. People are starting to realize you can do more with so much less.
Yeah.
And I do think the youth is starting to realize that too. I mean, you've got so many youth standing up as well.
You're right. The youth movement at the moment is actually more powerful than it's ever been, probably for the last 50 years, so at least 50, 60 years. But anyone watching live or on replay, please send in your thoughts, your experiences, you know, what places you know are doing these kind of things that we've been discussing right, what kind of places have been doing them wrong that could do better, what experiences you've had with trying to get back in sync and trying to, you know, minimize your waste and your packaging, like Sue's been discussing. Send in any of your thoughts, questions or anything. If you do send them in live, we can try and answer them while we're on air or hand them over to the next live stream. But for now, Sue, I wanted to pause that for a minute and just show a question that actually came in from a question and a comment actually from Cynthia. She says, have we gone too far? Much like human-made noises, all of our actions seem increasingly inadequate and out of sync with the priorities of living. When facing crisis, we want quick solutions that take us back to the normal, in which there is also our relentless destruction of nature. I'm worried that having separated this much, we may not be able to return to a simple cooperation in which each organism takes only what it presently needs. A lovely comment there by Cynthia. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, if you focus on the global picture, it is very easy to feel overwhelmed and, you know, can we ever go back to a simpler way? And often I think sometimes people think going back is you know, almost regressing, which it certainly isn't. It's asking ourselves, really, what is it we're pursuing? What are we filling our lives with? Why is there this obsession with more and more stuff and consuming? And I think the really important thing is to just bring it back to yourself and what I can do and what I can then start with my small sphere of influence, be it then my family, my friends, and start finding like-minded people and getting initiatives off the ground that way. There's a really lovely movement that started in Knysna called, Revive Knysna, where they're just a group of women who've said, enough, the Knysna is looking a bit tacky, the gardens are not being kept and maintained and all of that, and they've got stuck in and are just doing it. And there's a whole groundswell of support that they've been receiving. It is interesting. People are often a little bit more, they're more generous with their money maybe than their time and their effort. So for me, what's really great is for other people to just knuckle down and get involved and actually do things. And also, always questioning the systems and making our local councils, municipalities accountable. They are there to serve the interests of the town, and we need to make sure that the interests of the town incorporate the interests of the environment as well. And so I think E.O. Wilson has spoken about this, that we are almost entering the age of loneliness. And that's also what I've spoken about in this thing that Chief Seattle spoke about, where would man be without the beast? He would suffer from a great loneliness of spirit, and all this huge biodiversity loss that is happening is of major concern. But it's easy to get depressed. It's easy to feel despair, to feel that maybe we've gone too far. But I really like E.O. Wilson. I think he's 1991. David Attenborough, the same. They've remarkable role models in having a sense of hope and that we can actually do this. And we certainly can. It's just, but it just one step at a time, and also joining forces with others. I think trying to do anything on your own is going to be difficult, but as soon as you find like-minded people, you start feeding off of each other and you start fueling each other. And the more you also make reconnecting with the natural world part of your daily life, I think the more you just start feeling a sense of calm that comes into this. You know, life has thrived and been around for 3.8 billion years. We're not going to destroy the planet. We're going to end up having conditions in which we can't thrive as a species, but other species will thrive. So it's about us starting to just wake up and say, come on, we can do this so much better. We can use our technology and our capabilities just in terms of how we think, and that to really step back into the fold and start being an integral and integrated member of the community of life.
Wise words from Sue Swain, founder of Biowise. So fantastic. So I think, I mean, let's bring it to the end of this live stream. Let's just have a look back at what we've covered so far. So we're into episode 7 now. We've gone through module 1, which is biomimicry as a way of being, then on to module 2, which is rediscovering our planet, and then reconnecting with self and reconnecting with life on Earth is module 3. And then today we've been talking the start of module 4, which is reconnecting with fellow life on Earth. So go and check those out. Sue Swain's fantastic Biomimicry online modules available at expeditionproject.com. And just to finish us off tonight, I'm just going to bring up a couple of really nice reviews that have sort of come in from some people's experiences so far on the course. So Katrina says, absolutely outstanding course that will revolutionize your way of thinking and humble you into thinking of new innovative ways to solve problems you are presented with. The course is presented in a stunning way, easily accessible to you no matter what your background. And that's Katrina from Dublin. We've then got Joanna from Edinburgh says, I honestly don't think I have the words to describe how much I connected with this concept and the course. Sue calls the concept of biomimicry as a reawakening, and I think that is a perfect way to describe how I found it. Every piece of information that was presented just clicked with me, and the self-reflection tasks allowed me to deepen and develop my own views and thoughts on the concepts which were presented so clearly. I would recommend this course to absolutely anyone, from people who have a background in biology to people who just want to make better decisions for our planet. I mean, what amazing review there. Thank you so much, Joanna. And then Izzy from Nottingham says, this course was so interesting and inspiring. I recently felt a duty to reconnect with Earth more and become more eco-friendly. And I discovered over the course of Biomimicry Online that this was my biomimicist inside awakening. Fantastic. It was amazing to discover that biomimicry as a way of being was an overarching field that encompasses how we should be living as humans. Sue introduces the concepts in a really exciting way and always leaves enough to be desired at the end of each segment to keep you endlessly clicking through the course to find out more. Excited to learn some of the more specific examples of how biomimicry inspires specific engineering feats in upcoming courses. And then finally, Cynthia from New Jersey in the USA says, a beautiful course that helped me to connect more with nature and reflect in how I can improve my daily life and trust more in my intuition. Biomimicry Online Module 1 was so inspiring that I immediately subscribed for all the other modules. So there we go, Sue. The public have spoken.
Wow.
Such amazing feedback from 4 people there. So thank you so much to Katrina, Joanna, Izzy, and Cynthia for sending that in. Biomimicry Online, available at expeditionproject.com. Sue Swain from Biowise has put together some fantastic modules. As some of the reviews said, there's things that you can watch, there's things that you can participate in, you can make your comments, you can start the conversation, you can set up your own journal and start to make your own notes, and we can sort of talk you through some of those things as you start to communicate with us. And you can join these live streams every month, so you can have a bit of more interaction and a better feel of getting the conversation started as well. So really don't hesitate to get started with these. Let us know what you think, and get stuck in, and then let's get the conversation started. Sue, to finish us off tonight, as per usual, do you have a sort of a little takeaway or something about reconnecting, reawakening that you'd love some of the learners and the viewers to think about?
I think it is about really asking yourself, what is my relationship with the living world? And going out with intentional curiosity and starting to connect with the life immediately around you. We tend to think it can only happen in national parks and nature reserves and things like that, but just learn to see the very small organisms immediately around you, start stepping into their shoes and really asking yourself, what is happening here? What isn't happening here, and why? And what can I learn from that? And how can I be part of this? So really getting out there and finding a way of connecting.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Sue. A reminder of the next live stream. We're coming to the end of the year. I can't believe it. It is obviously December already. January, unfortunately, we won't be able to do one the first Thursday in January. So we're going to jump to the next live stream will be the first Thursday in February. So a long time away, actually, 2 months away. 3rd of February will be the next one. So plenty of time over your Christmas break, over any holidays you've got, to get stuck in with some modules, get the conversation going, start your journal, make some notes, and then get ready for our next live stream in 2022. So you can start telling us what you think. Sue, thank you so much. Obviously a pleasure as always speaking to you. Really enjoy the conversations. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Any final words from you?
No, just to thank anyone who did tune in, and to also thank those who have purchased the course and are finding it to be something of value. I think that's wonderful. It's super to get the feedback, and thanks again to you, Rog, for all your effort and everything in making it happen.
Thank you so much. Spread the word, everyone. Tell everyone about these amazing courses. As I say, they're super affordable. They're so enjoyable. They're so interactive. It's just really exciting to be a part of this. So spread the word. We'll see you next time. We'll see you in February. But for now, have a fantastic holiday season. And I'm going to play out with a little promo from Module 4, just to whet your appetite a little bit. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Super. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
The theme of this mini course is reconnecting with life on Earth. But before we get into the actual reconnecting side of things, let's quickly unpack that word reconnecting. Obviously, it means to connect again. But what are we actually implying when we say we need to reconnect? Are we saying that connection has been inadvertently or intentionally severed? Has it been lost? Or perhaps we've just consciously forgotten about it, or have even lulled to sleep our awareness of it. Or maybe the connection is broken, maybe a barrier exists that separates us. And another thought is, what kind of connection are we striving for? Are we desiring?